Many people tell me, I don't know what my inner voice is saying anymore. They feel disconnected from their intuition. They don't trust their decisions. They second guess themselves constantly. And what is important to recognize is this: these are not careless or unaware people. They are intelligent, thoughtful, reflective, often deeply committed to personal growth. Yet, something feels unclear. Ayurveda offers a very grounding explanation for this experience. It says, your inner voice hasn't disappeared. Your system has become too noisy to hear it. So today I want to help you understand how Ayurveda explains the inner voice, why we lose access to it, and how restoring mind-body balance allows that voice to naturally re-emerge, not through effort, not through force, but through alignment. So what do we really mean by inner voice? When we talk about the inner voice, many people imagine something mystical or dramatic, a sudden insight, a loud moment of certainty. Ayurveda understands it very differently. The inner voice is clarity arising from balance. It is the quiet knowing that feels calm rather than urgent, steady rather than emotional, clear rather than confused. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't argue with you. It doesn't create anxiety. Ayurveda does not locate intelligence only in the brain. It recognizes intelligence throughout the body, in the nervous system, in digestion, in breath, and in emotional regulation. When the system is balanced, insight flows naturally. When the system is disturbed, intuition becomes distorted. This is an important distinction. What many people call losing intuition is often intuition filtered through imbalances. So, why the inner voice becomes hard to hear? Modern life constantly stimulates the nervous system. Too much information, too many choices, too much comparison, too much mental activity without physical or emotional grounding. Ayurveda explains this through the lens of the doshas and prakriti. So when vata is aggravated, the mind becomes scattered and anxious. Thoughts move quickly, but clarity disappears. When pitta is aggravated, the mind becomes forceful and over-controlling. Decisions are made quickly, but often from pressure rather than truth. And when kapha is aggravated, clarity becomes clouded. There is hesitation, avoidance, or resistance to change. In all three cases, the inner voice is still present, but it is drowned out by the noise. This is why trying to think harder rarely becomes clarity. It often makes things worse. Ayurveda would say, you cannot hear subtle guidance through a disturbed system. So, what is the Ayurvedic view of mind-body intelligence? One of the most important teachings of Ayurveda is that the mind is inseparable from the body. Mind and body are the two sides of the same coin. Mental clarity is not just a psychological state, it is also a physiological one. Digestion affects perception, breath affects emotional stability, sleep affects judgment, daily rhythms affect decision-making capacity. If digestion is weak, the mind becomes dull or restless. If sleep is disturbed, intuition becomes unreliable. If the nervous system is overstimulated, the inner voice feels like anxiety rather than wisdom. This is why Ayurveda never starts with mental techniques alone. It doesn't say, just think positively or try to be more intuitive. It starts by asking, how supported is the system you are asking to make decisions? So, hearing the inner voice is a state, not a skill. This is a crucial reframe. Many people believe intuition is a skill you have to develop or practice harder. Ayurveda teaches something much simpler. The inner voice becomes audible when body feels safe, the nervous system is settled, the mind is not constantly reacting. In other words, clarity is a state, not an achievement. And this is why practices like regular daily routine, mindful eating, breath awareness, yoga nidra, slowing down transitions between activities are not really lifestyle extras. They are the conditions in which inner guidance becomes accessible. And when the system feels safe, the need for overthinking reduces. When the system is regulated, clarity rises naturally. So, why rest and rhythm matter so much? One of the most misunderstood ideas in modern well-being is the role of rest. Rest is often seen as something you earn after productivity. Ayurveda sees rest as a prerequisite for wisdom. When the nervous system never fully settles, the mind stays alert, reactive, and defensive. And in that state, the inner voice doesn't sound calm. It sounds urgent or confusing or emotional. Practices like Yoga Nidra are powerful because they give the system permission to downshift deeply. Not sleep, not distraction, but conscious rest. And from that state, clarity often appears without effort. Some of the signs that you're beginning to hear your inner voice again. Ayurveda teaches us to watch for subtle signals, not dramatic moments. People often notice small changes first. Decisions feel less heavy. There is less internal debate. Saying yes or no feels calmer. The body relaxes when a choice is right. There is a sense of settling rather than excitement. Ayurveda values these signals deeply because clarity does not shout, it whispers, and it often shows up as ease rather than certainty. So, what to do if you feel disconnected right now? If you feel disconnected from your inner voice, this is not something to judge. Ayurveda would simply say, your system needs support, not pressure. Instead of asking, what is wrong with me? It asks, what does my system need right now? Often, the answer is not another technique. It is rhythm, rest, consistency, simplification. When balance returns, guidance follows. So you don't need to search for wisdom. You don't need to force clarity. You need to create the conditions where wisdom can meet you. Ayurveda reminds us that clarity is not something we manufacture. It is something that emerges when we stop overwhelming ourselves. When the system settles, the inner voice becomes easier to hear, quiet, steady, trustworthy, and over time, that trust changes how you live, decide, and relate to yourself. And if this helped you understand why clarity feels distant right now, learning Ayurveda in a structured, gentle way can be deeply supportive. And this is exactly the kind of awareness we explore in the Ayurveda Appreciation Program, helping you understand your system so balance and clarity can return naturally. And for those who prefer ongoing rhythm and support rather than a one-time program, there's also a membership space where this work is practiced gently over time.